Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 105 of our WWE 2022 Save and TEW 2020. This is No Way Out, our SmackDown branded pay-per-view on the road to WrestleMania. Raw already on the road there. This is the last stop for SmackDown before we get to WrestleMania. And as always, a lot jam-packed into these shows. This is probably the most jam-packed non-Big Four, Big Five pay-per-view show we've done in the Save so far. Just for SmackDown going from the Rumble to No Way Out to WrestleMania, so really only a 4-week build for all of those shows for SmackDown, and so it's made it a little challenging. Remember, we go back to Mae Young Classic, we got Survivor Series, so really SmackDown has had to jam a lot in over the past 5 months or so, and so that means we got to get to a lot in this show. And so as you'll see, there's a lot of segments here. This may be one of the longer shows. We'll just see kind of how it goes, but we do have a lot to get to, and the reason, as you see, we don't have time for a pre-show match because we're starting off the pay-per-view with the visual of our main event, and that is Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso both sitting at the table in complete silence. And this is sort of playing off of Roman at the end of SmackDown. We saw him on the phone looking at a piece of paper. He looked a little frustrated, did Roman Reigns. And so now Jimmy's sitting there. You can tell Jimmy's just very uncomfortable, and these two are just sitting at the table, and they're not saying a word to each other. And that is your opening visual leading into No Way Out, as this will be our main event. Roman Reigns defending against Jimmy Uso. So an 85, great way to start off the show here. All right, match-wise, we are going to start off with our SmackDown Women's Championship. As you can see, Ben is back with the great graphics. We appreciate those, as always, from Ben. Really just add a lot to the show in terms of the visual aspects, so I love them. But we are starting off here with the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Bianca Belair defending against Raquel Gonzalez. We know this match has been in the making for a long time now, going back to really Survivor Series when Raquel was going after Bianca. The stuff that happened, Mae Young Classic, that was kind of the next plot point there. And then this match was supposed to happen at the Rumble, but Raquel got the concussion in the tag match, and so we've had to push it off now to No Way Out. Bianca's been the champion since we started our save. And yes, just a lot here in play as we head into the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Bianca Belair defending against Raquel Gonzalez. All right, and as we see here, early on in the match, Dakota Kai makes her way to the ring. She goes over to one side of the ring. Alexa's on the other side. Alexa's not happy about this because we know these two hate each other. But Dakota Kai making her way down to the ring early in the match. And eventually, again, she's had it. She doesn't want Dakota Kai there. She doesn't want her anywhere near the ring. So Alexa goes over, and she's had enough, so she goes after Dakota Kai. That split-second distraction is when Raquel kind of looks over, and you can tell this does something to Raquel. As she, is just kind of looking down at everything that's going on. Alexa's attacked Dakota. But that split, sort of lapse in focus allows Bianca Belair to get the flash pin. 72 overall for this segment. Match gets a 68. Bianca, I don't think we put the flash pinfall in. We meant to. But Bianca able to take advantage of Raquel being slightly distracted by Alexa going after Dakota Kai. And that is how Bianca retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. Defense number 6 for Bianca for the SmackDown Women's title. Lack of psychology, I'm not surprised there. We've kind of had that with both of these two in matches before, but it is what it is. But the bigger news, as I said, Raquel distracted by Alexa going after Dakota Kai. Remember, Raquel had stepped in for Dakota whenever Charlotte tried to go after her on SmackDown. So a very interesting dynamic still at play there with Alexa, Raquel, and Dakota Kai. But it allows Bianca to retain the championship. So more to come on the fallout from that on SmackDown. All right, backstage, we have Pat McAfee with Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E. Big E said he'd be here. He's here, folks. As even a Raw superstar, he said he didn't care if they could keep him out of the building if they want. Apparently he was allowed in. So Big E is here, and it is Kofi, basically saying, look, I'm ready for Brock Lesnar's aggression. I know what to expect. I remember what happened the last time I was in the ring with him, and I remember what happened when he did what he did to me at the Royal Rumble. And Kofi says, it's up to me to, finish all of this myself. And so Kofi, the key word there, myself, because after he says this, everybody's pumped up. These three are ready to head to the ring. But Mick Foley walks up, and Foley has got a host of security guards with him. And Big E's just like, Mick, we're heading to the ring. Kofi's got a match here. What's going on? And that is when Kofi just kind of turns away. He puts his head down, and Kofi just walks past Mick Foley and the security team. And meanwhile, that is when Foley and the security guards step in front of Big E and Xavier Woods, as Big E has now put it together that Kofi is the one that requested that they are not ringside for this match. And Big E's yelling at Kofi like, Kofi, come on, Kofi. Like, no. Like, we're not doing this. No. And Kofi just keeps walking, and we get sort of the camera that pans out to the visual of the long hallway, Kofi by himself, heading towards the ring with security holding back Big E and Xavier Woods. So 68 overall for this segment, and that is going to lead us into the match. As it is, Big E versus it's Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar. Your setup here, I mean, look, it's, as we said, it's Kofi kind of calling on the history between these two with, what happened at No Way Out, the championship match several years ago, 2019. Kofi wants to finally, do this with Brock Lesnar. He wants to finally get his revenge on Brock, and that is the focus here. So much so that he's forcing Big E and Xavier Woods to not even be at the ring with him. So it's not Brock versus Kofi, Big E, and Xavier Woods ringside. It's Brock versus Kofi one-on-one here at No Way Out. And let's jump into the match. And we see early on that it is Kofi catching Brock Lesnar off guard. Lesnar immediately goes for the F5 just like he did to win the championship several years ago. But Kofi catches Brock off guard. And so Kofi starting to build some momentum here early on and, starting to get some of that. Eventually, Brock he may be done here. Yeah, but then Kofi goes for the Trouble in Paradise. Brock Lesnar able to counter. And that is when Brock turns it up a notch. And he just starts hauling off on Kofi Kingston, regains all the momentum, hits one F5, goes for the pin, but Brock pulls Kofi back up, and now you're starting to see what's happening here. Brock is not done with Kofi Kingston, but Kofi is not giving up. He's trying to fight back. He just continues to fight. Brock hits another F5. 1, 2, no. Brock's not done with him yet. And so this gets to 70, and as Brock has done this after the second one, here comes Big E. He is throwing security guards left and right to try to get to the ring. Big E is pissed. And so he's, starts to throwing people. We see all this commotion up on the stage. Brock sees it too, and Brock just laughs as he hits a third F5 to Kofi Kingston and pins Kofi for the win here. 70 overall for this one. That leads us to the match. Like I said, the match itself gets a 74. It's not bad. I mean, I think that's probably about what I've expected between these two. But so Brock gets the win over Kofi. The bigger news, as we said, Big E's throwing security guards everywhere. Brock eventually kind of bails out, heads out through the crowd to leave, and Big E comes in to check on Kofi. Xavier Woods joins him. And so Big E checking on Kofi, who's just been obliterated by Brock Lesnar. But that's what Kofi wanted. He wanted to try to do this himself. He couldn't get it done, and Brock was just toying around with him towards the end there. And Big E is pissed as Brock has beaten Kofi Kingston here at No Way Out. Lots more to come with this, of course, moving forward. 74 for the match. All right, now we get a video package looking at the road to Asuka versus Paige. A pretty basic video package here, looking at the road to these two, and that is how we will lead into things. We can kind of hype this with the graphic on the screen. I mean, it's Asuka, who we've seen kind of the change in her motivation. We've seen the change in her mindset. She's gotten a lot more aggressive, really, since Survivor Series. She's really been playing that up, going after opponents after the match to maybe inflict a little more damage. And meanwhile, it's Paige, who finally was cleared to return to the ring at Mae Young Classic. And she has said that her goal, all along, to get back in the ring was to get back for one reason. That's to become a champion once again. And so that is Paige's motivation here. She's one step away. If she can beat Asuka, she'll go to WrestleMania to challenge for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So here you are, Asuka versus Paige. This is our number one contenders match. The winner goes to WrestleMania to take on, as we know now, Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Who is going to head to WrestleMania? Let's find out. And in a pretty good match here, 80 overall. This exceeded expectations for me. It is Asuka getting the win over Paige using the Asuka lock. I gave these two 22 minutes. And if you're wondering why, well, for starters, their stamina is actually pretty good. So I looked at that. I was like, all right, we need to give some matches a few more minutes because, in all honesty, we have to hit the 65% threshold of match angle ratio or whatever. And so this is one I had to add some minutes to. And I'm like, oh, am I going too far here? But their stamina ratings are pretty good. And I think some of the stamina has gotten better over time with these two in terms of the skills. So, yeah, like I could actually, I was a little surprised. I'm like, hey, 22 minutes, let's go. But this gets an 80, so this match really exceeded my expectations. Asuka's just tremendous. 89 in-ring performance here. So it does set up, as we see now, Asuka versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania. And I kind of laugh because I'm like, well, if I would have taken like multiple 3-month breaks on this save over the past year and a half or whatever, we may have beaten WWE in reality to the Asuka-Bianca match at WrestleMania. I had this plan. We've had this plan since Survivor Series, I would say. I pretty much knew this was the match we were going to have at WrestleMania. Probably, going all the way back to Survivor Series at least. So I mean, we just didn't get there before WWE did. So we'll see how it turns out. Maybe you'll like this one better. Maybe you won't like this one better, but we'll see. But it's official. Asuka, Bianca Belair, SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania. 80 for this one. However, we're not done here. Because after the match, as I just said, what have we seen from Asuka? Asuka starts walking towards Paige after the match, and we know what's going on here. Paige is down. She's hurt. And Asuka just kind of looking down at Paige, and we kind of see what may be coming here. But here comes Kairi Sane, who's been out with Asuka. She steps in front of Asuka, and you can see her throw her hands up just like, no, 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 no. And Asuka just kind of standing there, and you can tell she's getting a little antsy. And then Asuka just gives a big smile, and she turns and walks away. So Kairi Sane perhaps saves Paige here. We don't know. We don't know what Asuka was going to do, but maybe Kairi Sane was able to save Paige here from whatever Asuka was going to do next. So Asuka heads out. She's got what she needs here, a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania. 69, nice segment here. All right, backstage video package here as we have Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black. They're pushing the theme that the entire world is at stake in this tag team championship match. That's a lot of pressure to know that the world is at stake in this 4-way elimination tag team match. But apparently it is, because that is what Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black are saying, and basically they're pushing that if they win the titles, all will be right in the world. If they don't, it won't be. And that's kind of what they're pushing here. So what does that mean? Another ominous message. We don't know what they're saying, but they need to win the titles or the entire world could be in trouble, apparently. So 72 overall for this one, and that is going to lead us into the match itself, and is where we have the 4-way elimination match here with Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Bray Wyatt, Aleister Black, the Viking Raiders. They're all challenging the Lucha Bros for the tag team championships. The Lucha Bros have been the champs since the Rumble. They've really been on a hot streak ever since coming to WWE in September. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, they've been on a hot streak. They beat Roman Reigns, as we saw, and Jimmy Uso in the SmackDown main event a couple weeks ago. Mick Foley calling him perhaps the second coming of the Rock and Sock connection. Two guys just need each other at the right time and ultimately win tag goal, perhaps. Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black, we've seen kind of the duo that the issues they presented after becoming a duo after Survivor Series. And then there's the Viking Raiders, who recently earned that spot to get back in the tag team conversation, tag team title conversation. So I'm really looking forward to this match. A lot of interesting stuff here. Quite a dynamic in play with this one here. So let's jump into it, as it is Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Bray Wyatt, Aleister Black, the Viking Raiders, challenging the Lucha Bros in a fatal 4-way elimination match for the undisputed tag team championships. All right, so here's what we have. And I actually accidentally skipped ahead. So I accidentally skipped one of the segments I had here. So I'm going to make it up for you real quickly. So the big focus early on is the battle between Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black. And these two teams are doing the bulk of the work early, because these two, as we know, long history, they want to tear each other apart. That's kind of the focus here, right? So these two are really going at each other. And eventually, it is Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest getting the advantage, and that allows Damian Priest to get the pin on Aleister Black in this match to eliminate Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black. So the world may not be well, because Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black are the first team out of this based on Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest able to take the advantage and really take it to these two, to kind of take out all their frustration, everything that's built up between these guys over the past several months. So they're able to eliminate one of the favorites, I would say, without question, Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black. So they're out of there. So again, that's kind of the segment I skipped. This gets to 71 here. So Drew McIntyre then starts to turn his focus to the Viking Raiders, and that is when McIntyre, building off this momentum, multiple Claymores here. He's got one to Ivar. He's got one to Eric. These two guys are down. And so it looks like that Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest are about to do this again. One more team down to get to the Lucha Bros for the Tag Team Championships. So Drew hits the Claymore. Eric and Ivar, Penta and Phoenix just kind of watching from afar here. And then what happens? Drew McIntyre turns around to make the tag to Damian Priest, but little does he know that Damian Priest is already in the ring. And Damian Priest hits Drew McIntyre with the South of Heaven. And what has just happened? As Damian Priest has just taken out Drew McIntyre. The crowd is stunned. They're shocked. They don't know what's just happened here. But after that, that is when Priest just sort of stands over Drew McIntyre. Meanwhile, Penta, looking kind of suspiciously at Damian Priest, goes over and Priest just watches as Penta pins Drew McIntyre. Then Rey Fenix goes after Eric, who, as we know, just took the Claymore. Phoenix takes advantage there, and Rey Fenix pins Eric. 87 for this segment, where Damian Priest has just hit the South of Heaven on his partner, Drew McIntyre. And that is how the Lucha Bros retain the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. They are still your champions, their first title defense, as they get the victory in 1452. Penta, again, whoever, pick who you want. The match gets an 80, which I am excited about because I think that's great for all parties involved. Rey Fenix with a 90 once again. Drew McIntyre an 85. Penta 75. So a lot of good in-ring performances here. Even the Viking Raiders I still think are underrated. I haven't used them great, I know, but they're a little underrated from that regard. But a lot of good bonuses here. Great chemistry bonuses. But an 80 match, I'll take it. But the bigger story is what happened, right? Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, they were the favorites, according to Mick Foley. Why did Damian Priest do this to Drew McIntyre? And I know if there's some people saying this may just be a swerve to be a swerve, I promise it's not, and you're about to find out why. Because this has been in motion for a little while now, months, I would say. We've had this eventual development in motion, and someone's going to explain why. After the match, Damian underperformed, but this gets a 92. Fantastic. So, by the way, just before we get into it, so I'm not officially pulling the turn on Priest just yet, because one thing I can't, as you guys know, I like to do. I like to build up the suspense, right? It's hard to do that when it says on the screen that he's foreshadowing a heel turn, right? So I can't get around that. But we don't need to do the quick turn with Damian Priest here without, kind of pushing it in multiple segments, because as you guys know, if you play the game, not Triple H, you know that over time, you have to build up some of these. You can't just, go back to back to back with like they call them shock turns, but, again, we're playing this visually, so it's a little bit different. So you have to have the segments that build up the heel turn. So I couldn't necessarily do that with Damian Priest to get to this point because I didn't want you guys to see that he was hinting at a heel turn, right? So that was part of the story. So we will officially hit that official turn on Damian Priest. We just didn't do it here because I think we probably could get, I don't know that for sure, but I think we would have got hit with the note, this turn did not go well because you've had too many of sort of the shock turns, if you will, even though for us, they're not a shock turn. But that's kind of what I would say here. So after the match, McIntyre's down. The Viking Raiders are out of the ring. The Lucha Bros have headed out with their tag team championships. Damian Priest is standing over Drew McIntyre. Priest then, he wants a microphone. Damian's not done yet. And that's when Damian Priest gets down in Drew McIntyre's face and just says, "The Rock and Sock connection." Priest just basically said, "I'm not a sock." He said, "Whether it's been you, whether it's been John Cena, whether it's been The Rock, I've teamed with all of you. And all of you have needed me. I'm not the sidekick here. I've been the one that, everybody looks at me as the Marty Jannetty of the group. He said, I'm not here to be a sidekick. Everybody after the Royal Rumble was talking about how close you came to winning the Royal Rumble. Everybody going into the Royal Rumble was all about Drew McIntyre, one of the favorites to win the Rumble, go to WrestleMania. What was I doing? I was getting beaten up by Aleister Black and Bray Wyatt because you were too selfish to be there to save me. I was the one saving you every single time, and you didn't care because all you cared about was your own selfish reasons to become the champion. You didn't care about anything else other than becoming a champion. I tried to save you. I tried to make this work. But then everybody turned a blind eye after the Royal Rumble. They just forgot that you decided to eliminate me from the Royal Rumble. You took away my chance to go to WrestleMania. And that is not something that I can forgive. And so Damian really just, sort of gritting his teeth now. He just says, I am not a sidekick. I am here to be at the top. I've already proven I can go with The Rock, with John Cena, with Roman Reigns. I've been in the ring with all of them. And he said, and what I've learned is that I'm better than every single one of them, and I'm definitely better than you, Drew McIntyre. I don't want to be in a tag team with you. I don't want to be a tag team champion with you. I don't want to be a tag team with anybody because I'm the person that should be getting all the attention because I'm the one who has proven time and time again that I deserve all the attention and that I am going to get all the attention now. So, Damian Priest, it's a little bit of a long-winded promo there. I did my best, but all of this has been, as I said, in motion for a long time. Like we have put this into literally every segment. Pat McAfee talking about how Drew McIntyre was a favorite to win the Rumble. There were the points there, if you remember, with Drew McIntyre, Aleister Black, and Bray Wyatt. Priest kept saving McIntyre time and time again, but McIntyre really never saved Priest. And then it was almost like we intentionally overlooked it in the stories we were trying to push, but we overlooked the fact that Drew McIntyre eliminated Damian Priest, and we quickly went beyond that, right? Damian Priest said, it's all good, let's move on. Well, it's never been all good, and so now was the time for Damian Priest, after they had taken out Aleister Black and Bray Wyatt, who Priest does not like. After they did that, he decided now was the time that nothing else really mattered. He didn't want to win the tag team championships with Drew McIntyre, but he did want to go ahead and take out Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black because they're enemies, to him. But he didn't really care about the tag team championships. All he cared about was ripping everything away from Drew McIntyre at the right time, and that's what Damian Priest does here at No Way Out. So, 92, one of the best segments we've had from Damian Priest so far, so this really worked. So, the disrespect for Damian Priest has built up, and it finally culminates in the turn on Drew McIntyre here, and Damian Priest is not happy as we head out of No Way Out. All right, well, it's hard to follow that one up because that was a long segment, but again, I had to make sure, look, we had to get everything in, kind of what we've been plotting for a long time now, so there you go. All right, backstage. Belair is backstage, and here comes Asuka. As Bianca Belair and Asuka now go face-to-face. We see these two. Asuka walks up. There's the smile again. The big smile from Asuka. Walking up to Bianca Belair. We know that match is set for WrestleMania. Kairi Sane is there with Asuka, and then, Kairi was going to kind of step in the middle of them, and then she just decides to leave. So Kairi Sane just leaves as we just see the stare down between Bianca and Asuka. So we get to 70 here for this one. And then that's going to lead us into our women's tag team championship match. As you guys know, there's no way around it. This was supposed to be Lita and Trish Stratus taking on Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler. But Trish with a ruptured spleen, she's out of this match for the second pay-per-view in a row. We have to shuffle a women's match around due to an injury. And so Lita is going to have to find a mystery partner. She says she's found her partner. And so that is your setup leading into this one. Deville and Baszler really been going at Lita and Trish for a while now. I want to say, again, almost going back to Survivor Series. So a lot of this kind of building up for months here to get the No Way Out. And so now it is kind of set. Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, a dominant tag team to this point, are going to go up against Lita and her mystery partner. Who's it going to be? And it is revealed that Lita has a mystery partner, and it is Kairi Sane. So, Kairi Sane is the mystery partner for Lita. Gets a 65 here for this one. If you're wondering what the thinking is behind that, as always, you have to turn a situation that you didn't expect into something good, right? Story-wise, how can we use this? We can use this, and eventually you'll understand why. But for now, this was probably the best backup option I could have found to have as Lita's partner. I didn't want to bring in anyone new because of reasons. Also didn't want to just, throw other stories off necessarily. So we just kind of had to go with what the best option was. And I think this was going to be the best option given where we're headed. So Kairi Sane is going to team with Lita here because, look, Asuka's already had a match. Kairi Sane doesn't have a match, so let's give her some opportunity here, right? So that is your match leading into it. Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler. How's it going to unfold? Well, as you probably guessed, the champs are going to retain here. Baszler and Deville. So it's a 58, so I was not surprised this was going to be the worst match on the show. Because apparently Lita and Kairi Sane are not a great team, which, as I said, look, this was not the original intention, so we had to make the most of it here. But getting Kairi Sane in this match was important after what happened with Trish. So, Baszler and Deville are able to get the win. Deville submits Lita with a gogoplata there. So they have now defended their title 4 times, still the champions. They're just as dominant as ever. Lita was the weak link. We're not surprised by that. Sonya was off her game. So all that stuff, right? Well, we probably would have got a little more story-specific had Trish been involved here, but she wasn't. She's out injured. It's the best we can do. For 58 for this one. However, after the match, here's Asuka again. Asuka's back. Asuka comes out. Deville and Baszler have their championships. They've retreated. They're out of there. They want no part of Asuka. And then Asuka comes out, and there's Lita, who is just down, taking the submission loss to Deville. Asuka comes in, and now she's standing over Lita. Kairi Sane is still out there. She just had a hard-fought match. And Asuka just stands over Lita. And again, the huge smile, the huge grin from Asuka as she just stands over Lita and just turns around, goes and checks on Kairi Sane, and they walk away. And that is how we finish this segment. So the champs are still the champs. Kairi Sane winds up teaming with Lita to no avail. But Asuka back again. And she's just got this evil grin on her face. Who knows what's going on here with Asuka. 70 for this one as Kairi Sane and Lita come up short in the tag team championship match. All right. Boy, we still got a lot to go here. So I'm just like, man, there's so many angles on this show. I'm like, I forgot almost some of this. I'm like, oh gosh, we still got a lot to get to. All right. So Pat McAfee backstage. He is with Sami Zayn and The Miz. The Miz is there proudly wearing his Sammy's best friend button. He's just ecstatic about this opportunity. Although still injured, as we know. Sammy just says, The Miz may be handicapped with his injury, but he's decided to gut through it all. He's going to go out there and he's going to be in this match, and it's going to be a handicap match. He said, Sammy says him and The Miz are going to take care of business. They're going to finish this John Cena problem once and for all. And hey, that's their goal as a team heading into this match. So that is your setup here. Sami Zayn, the United States champion, defending in a triple threat match against John Cena and The Miz. The Miz just kind of playing this up too backstage with Sami. They're finally on the same page. We've kind of gone back and forth with these two, but finally on the same page here. Even though Miz with the injury, he's going to gut through it. He's going to participate in this match. So, Sami, The Miz, John Cena, United States Championship triple threat match. We know the build to this one between Sami, pinning The Miz at the Royal Rumble in that match and sort of, apologizing, and eventually The Miz just sort of, understanding. He's like, all right, I get it. It's fine. Let's let it, be gone, right? So it's all gone. So But of course, the bigger thing here is what we've been pushing between Sami Zayn and John Cena for pretty much since the start of our save. These two have had interactions. Sami, lost to Cena. Then eventually he pinned Cena. So it's just so many different things that kind of played up this rivalry that Sami's had with John Cena. And so that leads us into the triple threat match for the United States Championship. 74 for this segment. And here we go for the match. And early on in the match, literally when the match starts, The Miz goes over to try to hit a move on John Cena, but we see The Miz go down. And he has now re-injured his knee, apparently, because Maurice goes over as soon as he goes down to check on him. And Miz rolls out from under the bottom rope, and he sits on the outside as Maurice is frantically calling for the officials ringside to come over and check on The Miz. So they do, and that pretty much makes this a one-on-one match between John Cena and Sami Zayn. So these two going at it for quite a while here. The back and forth between Cena and Sami. This gets a 69. Nice rating for this one. So Miz is outside being tended to. Sami's a little distracted because he's looking over for his friend, right? His best friend. The Miz is out there injured. But Cena and Sami kind of, staying at things. When Sami's able to get the advantage, he goes over to check on The Miz. He's kind of yelling out, hey, is he okay? And Maurice is like, we don't know. They're checking on him. So Miz on the outside, sitting down, clearly with an injury here to his knee. However, eventually, Cena, very poor when improvising dialogue. I'm not buying that. Anyway, it's just a bad rating there for that. 69, nice rating here for this one. So, eventually what happens, John Cena hits the AA on Sami Zayn. So, Cena has hit the AA on Sami Zayn. He's about to win this thing. However, as soon as Maurice sees this, she goes over and hops on the apron. So now Maurice is yelling at John Cena. Cena turns around, and he sees her on the apron. Cena starts to slowly walk towards Maurice on the opposite side, because she's on the opposite apron over there from where The Miz is. So she's gone to the other side and hopped on the apron. So Cena walks over slowly to Maurice. Meanwhile, all of a sudden, the officials are checking on The Miz. The Miz just shoves these two officials out of the way, and Miz gets up in about as fast of a way as we have ever seen The Miz, the speed of which we've never seen before. The Miz gets in, and he goes over, and he makes sure to sort of angle himself to where he takes Sami's legs, puts them up to where Sami cannot see him, and The Miz tries to get the pin on Sami Zayn. 1, 2, but Sami kicks out at 2.5, and Sami rolls over, so he still doesn't see that it's The Miz who has tried to pin him. And that is when The Miz's face just gets shocked, because he realizes what he's now done. He wasn't able to get the pin. Maurice is on the apron distracting Cena, but then Cena turns around and sees that The Miz was not able to pin Sami Zayn. Sami still has not seen that it was The Miz that tried to pin him. And what happens from there? John Cena hits the AA on The Miz, and he pins The Miz with Sami Zayn down and out. And John Cena has won the United States Championship in the triple threat match. A 79 for this match. So we gave them 23 minutes again. Some of these matches had to be long because I just had to. Cena with an 83 in ring, Sami with a 68, Miz with a 66. But ultimately, we have a new United States champion. Almost 2 months after Sami had won it on the first week of Raw in January, he has lost his coveted United States Championship, but he's lost it to John Cena. And what is going to happen here, as Sami never saw that it was The Miz who snuck in and tried to pin him. Ultimately, it backfires for The Miz. He gets the AA from John Cena. And instead of these two working together, perhaps The Miz pulling a fast one here with the injury, because the speed is very important. And they were not able to work together as Cena pins The Miz, and Sami has no idea what has just happened for him to lose his championship. So, 79 as I said for the match. We have a new United States champion. It is John Cena. What's going to happen with the fallout from Sami Zayn And The Miz, again, I'd love to address it on this show, but we just don't have enough space in terms of angles, so we will get to that fallout quickly, as after the match, we can kind of throw in the note that, Sammy's just kind of trying to see what's going on. The crowd is yelling, trying to tell Sammy what has happened, but meanwhile, it's Maurice and kind of going over to check on The Miz. Maurice is whispering something to Sammy, trying to sort of, you can tell what's being played here. So that's kind of your setup here for this one, and that is how we end it. For now, John Cena, the new United States champion. I don't know how many of you guys would have predicted that, but he walks out with the United States title. So there is how it finishes. All right. Boy, we still got a lot to go. I'm like, man, this is a show here, because we are pushing a lot of angles. I don't usually do angles after everything, but we have kind of had no choice here because we are on the road to WrestleMania. So Jimmy Uso is getting ready to head to the ring for our main event, and in the ultimate Roman Reigns move, Jimmy starts to get ready to head out, but Roman just says, hold on a second. Where do you think you're going? And Jimmy's like, what are you talking about, man? I'm headed to the ring. Are we really going to do this? I'm headed to the ring, okay? Let's go just get this done, all right? Let's just go do this. I'm headed to the ring. And Reigns says, whoa, slow down. It's fine. He said, but we're entering together. Jimmy's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what do you mean we're entering together? He's like, we're going to go out to the ring together. And so Roman just looks at Jimmy and then just points as Jimmy walks in front of Roman, and that is sort of the camera shot we get here, is the visual of Roman Reigns walking very stoically right behind Jimmy Uso as these two make their entrance together. Have we ever seen that in a main event? Anything, period. Roman Reigns is going to defend the Universal Championship against Jimmy Uso, and they both enter to Roman Reigns' music. Just an unbelievable situation here from Roman Reigns. 82 for this one, and that is going to lead us into our main event, Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Universal Championship. We know the mind games that have been played with Roman. Jimmy's frustration we've seen has really started to come out over the past couple weeks. We've also seen Jimmy on a phone call with someone. We've seen Roman on a phone call with someone. Is it the same person? Are they talking to two separate people? We don't know, but we all know this goes back to Roman Reigns basically rewarding Jimmy Uso for taking out Seth Rollins, giving Rollins a concussion, and that is how we've set it up here with the one thing that's always been hanging above everything else, and that is the debt, apparently, that Jimmy Uso owes Roman Reigns, the secret, if you will, that has been right there, kind of in the back of the mind the whole time, and that is why Jimmy apparently feels like he has to do this. And he said, I have no other option. We heard him on the phone call. He has no other options. He has to do this. No other options. He's frustrated, but he has to do this. We heard it on the phone call. So, that is your setup. Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Universal Championship. What in the world is going to happen here? Here we go. All right, so we make the entrance. Yes, they both make the entrance together. They come out. The ring announcer introduces these two together. They're in the same corner. They're about to fight each other for the Universal Championship. And then Roman just pats Jimmy on the back, and Roman proceeds to go to the opposite corner to start the match. The bell rings, and Jimmy's just kind of standing there. The crowd's just kind of moving. They don't know what's going to happen here. What the hell's Jimmy going to do? What is he going to do? So, Roman just starts walking towards Jimmy, and Jimmy's just standing there in the corner. And Jimmy just will not move. He's just shaking his head, and he's like, are we really going to do this? Are we really going to do this? Jimmy just keeps asking Roman. And Roman just walks up to him, and he just kind of, shaking his head. And then out of nowhere, Roman just literally just slaps the taste out of Jimmy Uso's mouth. And, he slaps him, and Jimmy just turns, and Jimmy's just kind of, rolling his head here. And Roman just slaps again. Another slap right to the face of Jimmy Uso, and that one sets Jimmy off because Jimmy charges at Roman Reigns, and Roman goes down as Jimmy has taken down Roman Reigns. And so Jimmy gets up and like you can tell he's like, what am I doing? He walks away like he's just like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. And Roman just gets up and Roman's just laughing at Jimmy. He's laughing at him. And then Roman walks over as Jimmy's walking away and Roman slaps Jimmy again, a third time in the face. And that is when things go off course here. As Jimmy starts hauling off on Roman Reigns, the crowd's starting to lose it. They're behind Jimmy in this one as he's hauling off on Roman Reigns. He just keeps going at Roman, and he will not let up. As all the frustration that Jimmy's been feeling here, it's all coming out now as he is going after Roman Reigns. And eventually, he's staggering here. Like Roman is in trouble. It's like Jimmy's got the advantage. But he will not let up. All this has come out. The frustration is built to this point. And what does Jimmy do? He's going to add insult to frustration. He hits Roman Reigns' finish on him. He hits a Uranagi on Roman Reigns. And Jimmy goes for the pin on Roman. 1, 2, not so fast. Because Roman kicks out right before the 3 count. And that is when Jimmy just kind of sits there because he's starting to realize that may have been it. If he would have pinned Roman Reigns, this would all be over, but it's not. And so Jimmy just kind of sitting back, realizing when he just used Roman's finisher on him and tried to pin him for the Universal Championship. Oh dear, that may not have been the best idea. Because what happens after that, 87 for this segment. Well, what happens after that is that Roman Reigns just goes off on Jimmy Uso. He starts going at Jimmy, and we're just going to go. I'm going to just give you the result here because I think you guys probably understand that Jimmy was not going to win the Universal title. This gets an 80. I would have maybe liked this to be a little bit better, but it's fine. Roman gets the win on Jimmy, and how did we get there? The guillotine choke does it, which is important. Defense number 17 now for Roman for the Universal title. But Roman starts going at Jimmy, and he is just yelling at Jimmy, telling him, oh, so you're frustrated, huh? You've got no other options, huh? Remember, that's what Jimmy said on the phone call on SmackDown. How did Roman know that Jimmy said that? Well, now we're starting to put it together. Well, you're frustrated. You had no other options. Roman's just yelling at him as he's just beating up Jimmy Uso. Jimmy's bleeding now. So Jimmy's just busted open. Roman's just continuing to go at Jimmy here. And then Roman says, you did have an option. You did not have to sign that contract, but you signed it anyways because you want what I have. You want to take everything away from me. You want to take this championship away from me. And Roman's just going off on Jimmy, scolding him for signing the contract, agreeing to this match. And that is kind of what it's all about here for Roman. That Jimmy, why would he ever accept this match? And as we know, Roman told him he didn't have a choice. And then the closing visual, this is important. Roman picking up Jimmy before we got and goes for the choke and saying, your secret is safe with me, but you're not. And that is when Roman puts on the choke. And that sends Jimmy out of it for Roman to retain the Universal Championship. Jimmy is beaten on the mat here. He's busted open. Roman has busted him open. Has been yelling at him about the championship. Why did he sign this? He should have never signed the champ. Why was he coming after Roman's title? Why would he ever do this? And remember, Roman's the one that rewarded Jimmy with this opportunity. But perhaps it was a test because Jimmy has seemingly failed the test here as he has been destroyed by the Tribal Chief. 80 for this one. Oh boy. But we're not done here. Jimmy has been just battered. He's on the ring. He's just completely out of it here. Roman, frustrated that Jimmy would ever accept this match. And then we hear the music that we've not heard in quite a while. And it is the music of none other than Seth Rollins. The music hits for Seth Rollins, and Rollins walks out from the back, walking very slowly. Is Seth Rollins. Roman is in the ring all by himself now. Jimmy is out of it. And so Seth walks in. He's walking down very slowly. And we can kind of see here Again, Roman's in there. He's just beating up Jimmy Uso. Rollins slowly walking, and then Seth just sprints into the ring, and now here we go. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, they are exchanging blows here. Seth and Roman going back and forth, really going at each other. Seth's the one now with the momentum. And so Seth eventually able to kind of throw Roman Reigns over the top, or Roman kind of goes, falling backwards over the top rope, and Roman is now on the outside. And instead of going after Roman, who, is not fully taken out here, Seth walks over and he sees what is sitting right beside the Universal Championship. Of course Roman was going to bring it with him because he brought it with him with Jimmy Uso, and that is the Money in the Bank briefcase that Roman had decided to bring out with him. And Seth walks over, he takes back the Money in the Bank briefcase, he gets back into the ring as Roman is starting to stumble backwards to try to get up the ramp, and Rollins is standing there, and he has a microphone as well, and Rollins says, "You bastard, you've tried to take everything away from me. You went after my wife. You went after my health. And now I'm going to take everything from you." And that is when Rollins realizes that he also has the Universal Championship sitting right there, where the Money in the Bank briefcase was. And he says, "All I care about is trying to take everything away from you. And I know that to you, this championship is everything. So at WrestleMania, I'm cashing in and I'm going to take everything from you." And that's when he says, because Roman, look around. It's all you have now. And that is when we get the visual here of Roman stumbling backwards, and he looks around and he realizes that there's no one around him. There's no Jimmy Uso. There's no Jey Uso. There's no Paul Heyman. It's just Roman Reigns. And it's just Seth Rollins in the ring. And Rollins has declared that he will cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase to go after Roman Reigns' Universal Championship at WrestleMania. 99 segment to finish off the show here. Woo! Take a deep breath. That is how we wrap up No Way Out, an 85 show. As I said, guys, I know this is a bit longer, and I know we had some longer promo segments. I try to keep these short sometimes, but, hey, I'm booking all this stuff. I've got all these kind of things in my mind. Sometimes they just go on. But we really needed to hit a lot of these plot points in this one because some of this, as we said, has been building for months and months and months. And so everything was leading to this point. A huge show. Like this to me felt like a huge show, given where we're headed for SmackDown. But an 85, a lot of stuff there. So that was No Way Out. Let's make a couple speeches here, and then we will wrap up this edition. Or we'll see what we get to before we wrap up here with that. So let's give Asuka a bit of praise. We're going to give Roman Reigns, as always, some praise. Come on, guys. How could we not do that? And we will also give some praise to... who else should we give some to? How about John Cena? There we go. So, speeches and encouragement for all these guys. I'm just doing these quickly. I also realize I can't type in certain people because you may see some people have signs. So, all right, there you go. Let's see what we get to before I wrap up. All right, so that was No Way Out. Awesome show, getting fantastic reviews. Good to know. I enjoyed that show. Listen, I hope that you did too, but I enjoyed that show. Not really anything. Impact Wrestling finishing its run. Well, I was gonna say hopefully it's not going off the TV. So it's going off TV in a couple different locations. So that's fine. All right, let's see what kind of mail we got here. Drug test fees. All right. Oh my, are we kidding again? Oh my goodness, Triple H. Come on, man. So Triple H has got another booking complaint. As we see, this is our monthly check-in on Triple H. So he's complaining about his booking yet again. Remember, he is the owner and the booker of NXT. So let's never forget that. Oh, and let's not forget as well, I'm pretty sure he's the NXT champion, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he's the NXT champion. I could be wrong about that, but I think he is. So actually, let's check this real quick, because we don't want to mess anything up. We don't want to give Triple H the wrong idea here that he is not the champion. All right, so NXT champion. Oh, yeah, it's Triple H. That's right. Anyways, so back to our mail we go. He's complaining about his booking. Well, all right, let's take a look here. So if you're wanting the update for the month on Triple H, well, okay, match history. So he's had 6 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws in 2022. And remember, that's just in 2022, okay? So he's beaten everybody in his path. Now, remember, what did he do in 2021? Oh, yeah, 19 wins. So now, all years, he is up to 25 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. But he needs to be booked better. Look, I get it. He wants to be booked better on the main roster. But he's 25-0 in NXT right now. So, I appreciate the complaint from Triple H. We will be deleting that email. All right, there was no way out. Again, a lot of stuff coming out of the show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out all the other stuff on the channel, exploring the Seaverse, all those other things as well. It's a lot of fun new stuff I'm working on too. So, but man, we're on the road to WrestleMania. It's officially, we're in March now. Like, it is WrestleMania season. So, yes, it is time for WrestleMania. That is what we're building to now. And as you saw at No Way Out, we put a lot of things in motion, and that was intentional because we had a lot to get to be able to get to where we want to go at WrestleMania. So big matches are set for WrestleMania on the SmackDown side. We know Asuka's going to challenge Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and we now know that Seth Rollins is cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal title. So 2 huge developments there, but of course, there's a lot of stuff elsewhere coming out of No Way Out. So be sure to share your feedback. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I know some of the promo segments are kind of long, but hey, we had to get over some of the storylines because it's WrestleMania season. We're not holding anything back. So there you go. But I appreciate you guys as always. And on the next episode of our WWE 2022 save, it will be State of WWE for March.